Okay, so I wanted to get a few people together. I don't know if you guys are aware that I'm starting this video series of really just getting a lot of different groups together to discuss what's going on in today's world. Y'all who know me know that I'm like an advocate of things that I'm passionate about. And one thing that I'm super passionate about right now, of course, is just equality of right now, of course, the Black Lives Matter movement. And I do definitely want to hear it from a lot of different perspectives. I want to hear a lot of different perspectives of how do different people feel what's going on. So of course, the first one I wanted to put together was just a lot of Black women talking about the issue in today's world. How do you guys feel about it? And then of course, the next one that I'm doing is actually going to be Black men on Tuesday night. I have a bunch of different Black men getting together, all different ages, to discuss. The next series after that is actually going to be white people. So I have about 15 white people that are joining on a call with me to discuss how they feel, their stance on it, maybe, just kind of opening our eyes and enlightening us a little bit, but also allowing me to ask them questions and them ask me questions. And then the series is going to go on. I have my niece who's helping me. So people who are teenagers, I'm getting them all on a call. So again, I just really wanted to get a lot of different perspectives of what's going on, and also just give us the platform to speak outside of just riots and marches and things like that, because I think that if you don't meet people on their level, then they won't listen to you. And some of us understand the riots, some of us may disagree with them, some of us understand the marches, some of us disagree with that, but we also understand that that's the only way that we're getting heard. This is the first time, I think, in my lifetime, for sure, that I know of, where you have big mainstream media actually supporting the Black Lives Matter movement. You have Nickelodeon that put something out there, BET, MTV, Chipotle, Wendy's, like so many different people are coming out and saying, hey, what's going on is wrong and we need to fix it. So,
Amazon too.
Exactly. Amazon came out with a statement. So you just have everyone coming together saying, look, you know what, enough is enough.
Right.
So this conversation, I want it to be completely organic. It's not that I have a series of questions to ask y'all, because I feel like then it would be scripted, but I want us to just have a platform of like, how do we feel? How can we support each other? How can we just be there as a voice, or is it that there's a calling that maybe you don't know that you have during this time, and how can we just help motivate each other to do that? So I know it's a small group right now. I really hope that everybody else who I invited joins, because I would love that. But if not, like, I'm just happy that you guys took out the time to join me tonight and talk about this. So I'm just going to open it up and just, I think I want to start with, I'm going to call y'all by y'all's names, Helen and Deneen, to start, because you guys are older and you guys can speak from a different point of view than myself and Devaney. And how do you guys feel? Like, what tell us a little bit. How do you feel? What's going on in your heads as you see what's going on in the world?
Well, I don't know about Deneen, but what's going on right now is it's pretty rough. When you're seeing different people, what's going on out there, that's getting hurt, and everything is finally coming out in the open. And you have all these, this has been going on for years, and with it actually going on as strong as it's going on now, it's not a good thing. Right now we have to worry about our kids, and then our kids have to worry about their kids. We don't know how things are going to go from right now, but right now, the way I'm looking at it is it's not good at all.
Right. Yeah. I think for me, I agree with you. What's going on out there is not good. And, we all know that this is something that has gone on for centuries, way before our time. But I think at this point, I think I see two different changes right now going on. And I think these two changes that I'm seeing now are going to make the biggest difference in what happens moving forward. Number one is the younger generation getting involved. Like, and when I say younger generation, I mean like Marcus and Ty, you know, their generation. And then the second thing is, I think that white people, and I'm just gonna call it out, but I think that white people are just tired and sick and tired of seeing all of this going on. You know, we have been tired. We've been tired for centuries.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's getting to the point where they're sick and tired of what's
Right.
going on. You know, because when I've looked at a lot of the marches that are going on around the country, you see just as many of them, if not more, than you see of us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you know, I think that that's I think that that in itself really says something. But you know, but yeah, things have to change. Something has to. It just has to change, because these last few killings have just been so completely unnecessary. It's just so hurtful.
And I think that's why I think so many people are now involved. Is, I mean, on one aspect, it sucks that it took so many Black people to get killed for the entire world to finally step up and say, hey, this is wrong. You know,
Yeah.
and I think that's where some of the confusion is coming from, because you have some people who's fighting against the fight saying, it was just a couple of senseless shootings. Like, you know, it doesn't speak for all, or not even just shootings, but murders. You know, it doesn't speak for all, but they don't understand that the pain comes for 400 years. Like, I remember being in high school in history class, and we learned about lynching and slavery and things of that nature. And you're like, oh, that was a long time ago. That won't happen anymore. But now here I am, 30 years old, and it's still happening. Even
It's still
though,
happening, just in a different form.
exactly.
Just in a
And
different form.
that's
Right.
been like my argument with people is, yes, quote unquote, there may not be slavery, but if you still look around and you look at the numbers, Black people still get paid way less. We still have way less opportunities. We can be overqualified for certain things. And it's still like, you know, if I put my name on a resume, which I did when I was in college, and I submitted a project of just, hey, I'm going to submit an application for 60 jobs. For 30 of those, I put on the application the name Amanda. For the other 30, I put Taish. Amanda got a call. The same background, same degrees, everything. Amanda got more replies than Taish did, because they look at my name, right? And that's what we're fighting for, that too. And I think that it's I don't even know anymore.
Hello.
Yes.
Hi. So this is Shantae.
Hi, Shantae.
Hello. So I just joined the call, and what I've heard, the discussion that I heard thus far, I agree with everything being said. So as far as all the protests and the rallies that are going on around the world, country, for that matter, and yes, it's good to see our Black people come together, and yes, there are a lot of white people supporting us as well. Well, I have two things to say on that regarding the white people. Yeah, they're tired. I mean, we hope, and it's, to me, yes, they're calling it out, so it's brought to our attention and to whomever else's attention, but are they going to stand with us in the long run? And then as far as Black people, I mean, it's good that we get together, but we can make more of an impact on one another if we just support one another. I think we as Black people, there are some people who don't like to see Black people get ahead, so they try to step on their necks to hold them down. But you know what, we can do so much more impact if we just supported our own, kept our dollars in the Black community, we would do, you know what I'm saying? We can make a bigger statement that way. So, I mean, I hate that all these deaths and killings that have happened recently has brought all this out, but I think we should have been supporting our own. And then in 3, 4, 6, 12 months from now, I hope it doesn't die down. I hope we still stay in the front, you know, in the forefront of things. You know, a year later, will it have all been for nothing?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more on that. And Devonay and I were actually talking about this on Facebook the other day, where we were like, you know, we're raising our kids in a way of, you do have to work harder nowadays, but we also don't want them to feel like, okay, the color of your skin is going to hold you down, but you also can't go against each other either. Devonay and I, we've known each other for 15 years now, and I'm not going to compete with her, but yet I know people who do compete with us who are Black. And it's like, why? I'm going to celebrate her. I'm going to uplift her. If she tells me, look, I just got promoted, guess what? Look, I may be in another state, but I'm going to support you. I'm going to promote you. I think that that's awesome. And we need to do more of that. We have to lead by example. We can't always yell at others who are of different races because they're not supporting us when if they see that we're not supporting ourselves. But it also comes down to, if you look at the world, a lot of us that are Black, we're stuck in the inner city. And in the inner cities, we don't have as many opportunities. We don't have as many even good stores, you know, as living in the suburbs. So when you're in a space of all you see are, you know, shootings, gang members, people not making it unless they're drug dealers, dope dealers, listening to rap music, different things like that, it has to come from us who have gotten those better opportunities to go back to the inner city, to go back to those areas and say, hey, there is a way out. Hey, I'm going to support you and help you out. We can't just be like, look, I made it, I'm going to forget about this person and keep moving on, because where is that going to lead us? Where is it going to lead us? It's going to come to a point where now you see people are on social media, you know, of different colors saying, well, there's still Black on Black crime and there's this and there's that. There is. So we have to fix that too. We have to.
And I totally agree. And I think as far as the inner city and the people that are there, I think they're stagnant. I think they're scared, thinking that they can't do it. And I don't think maybe they don't have a support system saying, you can do it. I want you to be better than me. You have to challenge. You know what I'm saying? You can challenge people, you can challenge the system, and you can challenge others, but there's a way to do that. But you can't be scared of growth. You have to step out on faith. If it's meant to be, it can be. In the way the way I look at things, because if it doesn't work out, you can always go back home. You can always go back to what's comfortable to you. But if you're not scared or you're not hesitant, that means you're not growing, and you need to grow. And as far as those getting promotions, people of color, I totally agree. And if we weren't hating on one another, and people would network, because like, I know people that are in positions, for instance, you, Todd, I know other people. Well, hey, I may just have a friend out there, we'll just say out there in Maryland. You see what I'm saying? It's all about your network and who you know. But you know what, you just can't think people just going to give you a handout. You got to work for it, because we didn't get here by getting handouts. We chose to better ourselves, and that's what they need to do, is to better themselves, and don't be scared of change. Because if you're scared of change, it means that you're not willing to grow.
To grow, exactly. Yeah.
I agree. And Devonay, I mean, you know, we're younger, right? We're in the younger crowd. What do you think about everything that's going on? How do you feel, especially raising your daughter?
I think that unfortunately for me, not only am I Black, but I'm also mixed. So it even comes at so many different angles, I guess. But for me, I think it is exactly how she was saying, as far as coming from change. You have to be able to make that self-choice within yourself and willing to break our generational cycles of the bad that we've been through to get to the better. And I do agree the inner cities do have less and less and less, but it's also, unfortunately, the circumstance of what they're in. Are they not willing to work as hard as, unfortunately, like a white community? Because for me, like choosing school for my daughter is extremely hard. because she is a minority as well, and she has darker skin, she looks different. But to have her in a different school setting that's going to offer her better education, I don't know if it's necessarily because the parents we're like in her school, we're extremely involved. We have to have 20 hours of us as parents have to volunteer 20 hours a year, and our children, and we sign contracts at the beginning of the year, have to also commit to 10 hours of community service a year. And it's not even that much, but every single parent, every single student doing that in the volunteer hours and getting all the fundraisers that we have to be involved in, it makes an immense difference. Like my daughter took Japanese all through elementary school. Now she takes Spanish and she does all these honors programs. Like my daughter will graduate with her associate's degree in college because they have a college-bound program through her school because of the volunteer hours.
That's
So
awesome.
It is awesome, and I think it comes from, and that's where the hard part of it will be, because I respect everybody's decision in their parenting. Like I parent my way because that's what works for me. You parent your way. Like nobody's normal is the same. So I think it'll be really hard to go into those inner cities and say, hey, as a parent, what are you doing and not doing? Because how do you do that without making someone defensive to what you're trying to accomplish? Like, instead of, it's hard, it's tiring. I mean, I already work all the time, and right now through the pandemic, we're not doing anything. But before this, the only time that I was at my house was literally 9 o'clock to go to sleep. As soon as I got off work, it was gym time. Shayla's had practice at school, ambassadors program, college bound program, and then an additional her additional Colorado Hoopsters program after that, practice after that, and then on the weekend she has tournaments, and then every other weekend she would have a college program where she was going all day long. You know what I'm saying? So I think it has to do a lot with what the parent is willing to sacrifice. I don't drink, I don't do drugs. I try to promote as much self-worth in my daughter. Like, you're beautiful how you are. You're natural. You're what you're supposed to look like. Honestly, we don't watch TV. Like my boyfriend, he calls me a caveman. We don't have cable here. We don't have internet here. I don't allow my daughter to have a certain amount to see all this stuff on TV to distract her that way. I stay away from drugs and alcohol to show her, like, and I like her to see it too. Don't get me wrong, because I have family that is off the chain, and I let her see that, like, hey, if you make these type of choices, this is most likely where the path of your life will be. But my own brother, who's my twin, loves to smoke weed. He loves to drink. He's also homeless. He doesn't have anything to his name. He doesn't have a car. He doesn't have anything. Those were his choices. And me, my brother, and my sister were all raised by the same single mom, and we all three made different paths and choices for ourselves. I myself was pregnant at 15, so it was a whole nother ball game to be responsible. You know what I'm saying? So it comes truly from the self choice within somebody to want better for themselves and their children. And it comes a whole nother level to actually wake up every morning and choose to be a mom and want better for my daughter and not let her be a victim of this world. And me, myself, I'm not for making anyone richer. That's why I don't pay for cable. I'm not going to make people more richer than what I'm trying to make myself. I don't pay for anything that's crazy to make somebody else continue to gain wealth and riches. Like, we can have as many celebrities, Black celebrities, Mexican, whatever, but at the end of the day, who's producing those movies? Who's making those movies? Who's the number one seller of cosmetic weave, fake nails, eyelashes, Jordan shoes? At the end of the day, the CEOs of those companies are most likely white people. So for me,
and that's the thing, though, is like, like you just mentioned, you're doing everything possible to raise your daughter right, which I think everyone on here has kids for the most part. We've done everything right. Even when you're watching the news, unfortunately, a lot of the people of color, the Black women, Black men who are dying by the hands of these cops, were doing something right or were raised right. When you hear the people going in front of, the news and getting interviewed, they're like, but this person was a great person. Breonna Taylor was an EMT. She was an essential worker, right? And she still got 20 rounds shot into her home, killed, shot 8 times.
Yep.
And still died. So I think
Right.
that's a whole other layer that we do need to talk about. We're doing everything right. And I think that's what's terrifying for us is you do everything right for your children. And I don't care how old you are, you're still terrified for them to leave their houses every day because they could have just made the wrong turn and got stopped. And it could have been a simple traffic stop and it could have led to them having their last breath. I think that's the bigger thing. And that's why you have so many people pissed off. I have a husband. Every time he leaves the house, I am terrified. We were sitting at the dinner table the other night, and our middle daughter, Malaya, was like, just started crying and was like, I am scared of being Black.
Mm.
That hurt. It hurt because anyone who knows my child knows that that girl isn't afraid of anything at
Right.
all. And
Right.
for her to be terrified because she's Black and she's afraid that she's going to die by someone just not liking her because of the color of her skin, having that conversation with an 11-year-old, a 9-year-old, and even my son is 3, and my husband has to have these conversations with him already because you have to prepare them for, we may love you, and we do, we're always going to love you. Black is beautiful, but when you go out in that world,
Yeah.
sometimes people just don't like you because of the color of your skin, and you're going to have a daily battle for no reason. You can love and love and love, and that's what I keep going back and forth with people where they're like, why are they rioting now? This is ridiculous. A lot of people in my generation are feeling like all we know are peaceful protests. All we know are peaceful marches, and it got us nowhere. So unfortunately, we are letting our anger out now, and I'm not saying it's okay. I'm not saying I agree with, burning up your own communities. I'm not saying I agree with that, but I'm saying I understand it. I understand how they feel. I understand how it got to that point because, I was even raised where it was like, if somebody, calls you a nigger, which it got carved into a bathroom stall when I was in kindergarten because my brother, my sister, and I were the only Black people in the entire school, and they carved it everywhere. I still had to turn the other cheek. My mom refused to move out of the neighborhood because she's like, they're not running us out of this neighborhood. Y'all are still going to go to school with your chin up and different things like that. So it's like, even as a child, I was ingrained as if somebody called you a nigger, or if somebody, treats you, you don't feed into that because they want you to react that way. So what do we do now? And I know, Vanessa, you've recently joined. How do you feel about what's going on? How do you feel?
It's definitely changed. The world is changing. And I know I had to go through just the pandemic, and then on top of the pandemic, what happened to Floyd is it's really heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking because we shouldn't have to protest to get get heard, to be heard.
Right.
And it's like, what's another way to educate our people that we have to speak, not fight, to be heard? Because I'm not a fighter, so I rather fight a different way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking, and it's like, well, how do we start with the kids? Do we start with the kids? How do we get our parents to start understanding? And it's just like, where do you start now? Where do you start?
And I think it starts with these uncomfortable conversations that everyone's now having, right? Like, I feel like 2 years ago, maybe I wouldn't have thought about having this conversation yet with my kids. Like, I've had surface conversations with them because they've dealt with racism when we lived in Colorado and Lakewood. Honesty's dealt with it by them talking about her hair and different things like that, her wondering why her hair was different. So we had like the surface, but having these deep conversations now, I think every parent has to have it, and every household should have it, no matter your race, and I think that's the only way for change to happen because, even white people in their house, children are asking these questions because, especially people who watch Nickelodeon, they had 8 minutes where Nickelodeon went silent. And all it had was, we support the Black Lives Matter movement, what's going on, we're sick and tired of it. That sparked white kids to ask their parents, what is Black Lives Matter? You know what I mean? So it's forcing, we're now forcing all of the kids who are now going to start growing up in today's world to have these conversations. And some of the conversations start at the dinner table with parents saying, you know what, here's the real. This is really what's going on. And that's kind of how I raise my kids. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it for them. I need them to know, because I need them to know when they go out in the world how to carry themselves. But then as a parent, I also go back and my heart hurts a little bit because I know I have to, well, my husband more so has to have a different conversation with my son than maybe my neighbor has to have with their son. You know, if you get pulled over, this is what you do. This is how you act. But then I also sit back and think, like, is it worth it? Is it worth having a conversation? Because we see all the time where people, you know, Philando Castile, he announced, hey, I have a gun in my console. I'm not grabbing my gun. And he still got killed. So it's like, even when you do everything right and you say, hey, I have a weapon, I'm not grabbing it, don't shoot, and you still get killed. So what is that right way of raising our kids? What is the right way of acting in society? Like, why does there have to be a right way? Why does there have to be a way of, if you're a Black person, you have to respond like this, or you have to carry yourself? Like, I think that's the part that hurts, is like, why do I even have to have this conversation after all this time? It's 2020.
I think what upsets me the most is that it took George Floyd for this stuff to actually be heard. You have a young man, you have plenty of people in the past who went through this same thing, and because so many people was videoing George, that's why this stuff is actually happening, being heard. That's why all these protests is going on. But what about all the ones in the past? What about all of them? What about all the ones that we don't know of? All the ones that lost their lives behind the hand of an ignorant cop? What about all of them? And that's what hurts the most.
And I also agree with you, and I just think, because in this world now, everybody is recording something. Everybody is streaming live. Everybody's going live. Me personally, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Because when that happened, I'm sure there were Black people around watching this happen to George Floyd. Now, I understand the officer was on his neck and everything, but you're recording, which is fine because we needed the recording, but I didn't see nobody step up, you know, not so much challenge them, but I don't think I can just watch somebody die in front of me and not say something.
And that was the thing that I was upset about. You got all these people standing around, and you're all video. You know what? Any one of you, I don't care who it was, any one of you could have rammed that guy off of him. Okay, you could have gone to jail. You know what? You would have saved his life.
But you would have saved a life.
Up there saying,
Right. They never know that either. Like, if you could ram a cop and there was more than just that cop around, 9 times out of 10, they probably would have started shooting you too. So
yeah, exactly. You would have been dead.
You gotta think about that truly, because I have a child. If I seen something like that happen, first and foremost, if I'm with my child, in all honesty, because that's just who I am, I'm not gonna do anything to put my daughter in harm's way ever. So in that situation,
you're not supposed to. Right, and I agree, you're not supposed to. But as Black folks, as Black people in that moment, even say something, because you can't go to jail for talking. If you didn't do nothing, but if you didn't do nothing but have a line of 10 Black people, have a line of 10 Black people standing behind those cops to say, hey, you know what I'm saying? We see you. Just a line, just something to show solidarity. We are uniformed.
Well, what I will say is they finally came out with another angle of what happened with George Floyd. And it was actually a white woman arguing with the cop, saying, you need to get him off of him. Why is he on there? He's yelling that he can't breathe.
Yeah,
and I think
the white lady that was standing there at first.
Yeah. So, but that right there, I think I have to show respect that there should have been more. There should have been more Black people behind that white lady, but that white lady was arguing with that cop, saying, get off that, go get your man off of him. He can't breathe. Why are you on him like that? This is ridiculous. But you guys are right. It takes more. Like, I can't stomach recording someone die. I can never do that. I would never do that. Yes, it's great to have these recordings because then you have activists who can come out. You have solid proof that, you know, because sometimes more often than not, it is the cop's word against what happened. And more often than not, they take the cop's side. So it is good to have these recordings. I'm not knocking them. But exactly what you said, it also should be people standing up and just yelling but sometimes yelling doesn't do anything either. We've seen a lot of the videos where you do have people yelling at these cops saying get off, and they don't.
And you know what? All I can say is in that moment when he was calling out for his mom, that was my son at that moment.
I agree.
I felt totally different. When he was yelling out for his mom, I imagine that was my son right there. And it just shook me to my core because it's sickening. It's sickening, and I know I'm not proud, but I am that violent one. And when I first moved to Houston, I was at a stoplight, and I don't even know, but a white man pulled up next to me and called me a nigga. And I'm like, just like he was saying hi. Yeah, I followed him and I busted his windows and stuff, but that wasn't the right thing. But you just not gonna think you can say what you can say to any black people and they think they're gonna turn the other cheek, because that's not gonna happen either.
Yeah.
I don't raise my kids that way.
It's so dangerous. You have no idea what could have happened from that situation. Thankfully, you weren't harmed or anything further escalated from that situation, but that's so dangerous for anyone to do. I have a best friend, and she followed somebody the other day because she thought that this person said the same thing, but it turned out not to be that. But it's like, you're on your lunch break chasing somebody down because you feel that you need to have this and that. For me, nobody's getting my power or my energy like that. Like, that's so
well, I think it is, but in that moment, I was more running on emotion. And you're right. It could have been, thank God it did turn into a different situation.
I don't know how old your children are, but could you imagine in the worst case scenario, if this person was like, oh, this N-word is chasing me, I need to defend myself and shoot you. What, you know what I'm saying? That's a senseless death over a word. Like, we got to stop giving people power over this word. Like, I don't even say that word. First of all,
that's the thing, is that I think we have been turning the other cheek for so long, and that's why they feel like they can just call us that word, because no one ever says, because that's how we were raised. We were raised by strong Black people, or, you know, even in your case, Hispanic, and your mom is strong as Lord knows what, to raise and say, hey, turn your cheek, turn the other cheek. Don't let them don't let them take that energy from you. But it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And so it's like, how do you stop it? And I think with you ladies who are, go ahead.
It's getting harder and harder. Turn that cheek.
It is. And I think, just from your perspective, those of you who have sons, Black sons, with that, like, how do you feel now? Even though your sons may be grown, like, how do you feel?
It's scary. That's one thing. It's scary. Especially if you're not living in the same town with your.
It's a scary. I just think we've always experienced this, but we've always turned the other cheek. We always act like it didn't matter. But I think now, like we said in the beginning, people are tired. They're speaking up and they're standing up.
Wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And and I just think because you're not going to silence my voice. I'm going to say what I need to say, whether you like it or not. Now, it depends on how you want to take the conversation, because I can have a very intellectual conversation with you, or we can, just go there. But I just think even me having 2 Black sons myself, I don't know. It's just hard. I just tell her, you know what? You got to give respect in order to give respect. Just don't think I'm just going to respect you because of who you are, the color of your skin, or your title. No, because see, I'm going to give you the same respect that I give that CEO, that VP. I'm going to give that same respect to the janitor. So I don't care what your status is in life, how much money you make. Respect is respect, and respect is earned, and it's not given.
Right.
Right. Well, they don't feel that they have to give us any respect because they have so much entitlement.
Exactly. Exactly. Because and you know what, you guys, you have to realize it's taught in the home. You're not born. These kids are not born this way. It's taught in the home.
Yeah.
It is.
They've heard somebody say it. That's why they repeat it when they're playing with your kids or when you're just having conversation. That's why they repeat it, because they've heard it within their family and they think that it's okay, and because they don't know no other way. So that's why it has to be taught.
I seen something this morning that I don't know. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Okay. I seen something this morning where a little white girl, and I think she was probably about a good 13, 14 years old. She was like literally arguing with her parents because her parents was saying that the reason why blacks are like that and live in the ghetto is that's where we belong. It's in the ghetto. And the girl was asking her parents, why do they feel like that? Why do they think that way? Why are they saying that? And she said, because that's where they belong, because they don't know how to act when they're, out in public. So they belong in the ghetto. So with her arguing with her parents and asking for statistics of why she, what makes she think that Black people they need to be in the ghetto, parents couldn't even explain why that is. It's because of the way they act. That's
conditioning.
Right,
exactly.
like Dante, it's in the home. It starts in the home.
But more and more. Right. And I think more and more children have to challenge their parents and not in a disrespectful tone. I'm not saying go curse your parents out, because I'm 30 and I'm still not going to talk to my mother like that because she'll hop on the first flight out here. But but you have to challenge your parents' beliefs and stand up for what your beliefs are, because sometimes it is where you're conditioned to feel a certain way about a certain race, or sexism is out there, everything is out there, and that's because it was passed on and passed on and passed on. But the moment you're kind of challenged with your beliefs, and I think that's what's going on, and that's the temple of the world now, is there are a lot of white people out there that unfortunately were conditioned and raised in a sense of Black people are dangerous. When you walk across the street, clutch your purse because they're thieves and different things like that. And now you have all these schools are mixed with different races, regardless of where you live. You can live in a really, really, really nice area, and you may still have a handful of Black kids there. So now you're getting challenged of, well, if they're all thieves, how do they come to these schools? Or why are they so nice? Or why are they so smart? Different things like that. And then they're now going home and they're challenging their parents, or they're bringing Black, friends home and different things of that sense. But I think there's still more, there's a lot more that has to be done. There's a lot more for me just to feel safe with my kids. I honestly don't feel safe. And Marcus and I we've been talking a lot since all of this has been happening, because again, I just like picking people's brains and trying to get to the root of how certain people feel, especially the Black men right now. Like, I really want to kind of understand, like, how do you feel? I can only think, what I think I know. And he was just like, I think that's why our parents didn't really want us to go anywhere. It wasn't that they were strict, even though we think that they were, and different. That's their form of protecting us. And it's like, now that I'm a parent, I see it like, I'm not being strict all the time when I'm telling my kids, like, you can't stay the night at other people's houses, and I don't really want them staying the night over here unless I know, like, everybody who they may be around. It's my form of protecting them, because when they leave my house, I can't trust that this world is going to protect them anymore.
Exactly.
I can't, when I was younger, I remember living in a neighborhood in Colorado, and everybody's parents knew each other. So we could rip and run in different sections. Like, I can go blocks away to Devonay's house, and my mom didn't have to worry, because she knew Devonay's mom. She knew that, we were always going to stay together. Whereas now, parents don't even go outside anymore and conversate. They don't get to know you anymore. They don't, what I mean? Like, that's rare. So when it happens, it's like you appreciate that neighborhood, but it's no longer a village that's raising your kids. It's the world that's raising your kids. And unfortunately for Black people, the world is also taking our kids.
Our kids. Mm-hmm.
And I'm sick of it, and I'm terrified. And I don't want to be 50 years old and having this conversation again, or seeing it again. And I don't want my kids to now be 20 years old and watching on Facebook, if Facebook is still around then, still senseless acts of murder against Black people. And I think that's one of the arguments that's out there now, is like, all cops aren't bad. No one's saying all cops are bad. That's not what we're saying. But what we are saying is just like what they were saying about Black people. The bad cops are outshining the good cops. So
Yeah.
that is now the temple of fear that we have, because you have these select few that are getting away with certain things that they consistently do, and they're not being charged. You know, in 2015, there were over 100 deaths from police brutality. And out of over 100 of those, only 4 of them really went to trial, and only 4 of them were charged. But all 4 cops who were charged, they did less than 4 years in prison. That's what we're arguing against. Because if I were to kill someone, it's not going to be a minimum of 4 years. This is not what's going to happen. So you have unfairness straight across the board, and we have to fix it. And that's why so many people are saying, go vote. You know, and it's not just the presidential campaigns, it's local votes that matter as well. Watch.
It starts in the local office. And, you know, and it's just my opinion. It's been going on, but me personally, ever since Trump got in office, it's made it way worse. Yeah. Like even the other day when all the protests was going on, and he makes this comment when the looting starts, the shooting starts. So you're just like giving them, it's okay. It's okay. Mm-hmm. Go out there and just, you know what I'm saying? Why would, I don't know. Trump is just stupid to me. And he says stupid things. He does things for show. And then you have all your big restaurants, Chick-fil-A, you know, all these restaurants supporting his presidential election for the next, for the next election. It starts at the local office. It starts with your local. It starts with your senators. It starts at the local office, and you just need to get out there and vote.
It even starts with who you vote on the school boards, because even in the school systems, they're not teaching Black history the way that they should. And I appreciate all of our teachers that do kind of go off a little bit off the grid from the curriculum, and they teach what they think they should know, or those really good teachers that kind of take these children in under their wings and they love them. Those are the teachers that I love, but we also have to help our teachers out and make sure that we're fighting for what curriculum should be taught and different things like that. We can't continue to be upset in our homes, but not wanting to do anything outside of our homes. And that's what we have to lead by example. And unfortunately, even though Black women are so low on the polling poll, and that pisses me off, that hurts daily, but we have to fight, because even though we're in their eyes low on that polling poll, we also have our Black men on our back. We carry our Black men, so we have to help them any way we can. And I think it's just being there and fighting for them and fighting for us, fighting for equality, and showing that no matter what, we are going to stick together. But we also have to get the violence out of our communities. We have to stop being upset with each other for stupid stuff and taking each other's lives too, because that's fueling their fight against us.
Yeah. Right. It's only giving the white society or whatever more reason to, exactly like how we were talking the other day, for them to say, oh, there's just another N-word or another Black person. Like, I'm strong on that with my daughter. Like, don't you ever give a reason for a white person to be able to say that to you. But at the same time, like, yes, everything that's happening right now is extremely bad, and they shine the light on these bad things that are happening. But if you look numbers wise, Black people kill more Black people than white cops kill Black people. So how are we going to, as a community and a race, continue to kill each other over senseless gang violence, or because you was cheating on me or whatever? Like, why, whatever the reason why the Black community kills each other at a higher rate than anyone else, it's crazy. And that has to stop before anything else can stop, because that's only going to give them the right to continue to say those things. And I understand, like, if you're in a smaller community and all you see is this bad over and over, obviously that's going to fill your anger. Then how do you get it to eventually stop is exactly what the problem is. And it's hard to tell somebody how to raise their kid or what they need to be doing, instead of being on Section 8 and welfare and slanging drugs and doing all this unnecessary things, which is also feeding more money to other people. And for me, I see the only way that they will listen, because right now, obviously, they're listening to calm us down. But at the end of the day, until the Black community has more power, and no matter what anyone wants to say, power comes from money, period. The world revolves around it. You need it, we need it. If you don't have it, it's another problem. Then you're asking the government for help to get Section 8, to be on WIC, all these other things that then they control you, instead of you being able to make your own decisions as a free person. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, we have to be able, and I like that thing that you had posted about black owned in Maryland. You make
Black owned businesses, yeah.
Right. It's like, okay, I'm certainly down for that. And I already don't just give my money out to anyone anyways. And until it's so funny because I'm avid on Pinterest, and I seen this this quote by Malcolm X, and he was saying, if you go to a Black community, you see Asian stores, you see Mexican stores, you see all these stores making money off of our dollars of the hardworking Black community. Where's the Black people stores? I don't see none. I could walk from here to Lakewood and I couldn't name one. And I live in Wheat Ridge. Not one.
And we have to support each other. I think anyone who knows, and that's kind of what's happening now, is that in light of, I think the good things that are coming out of these riots and coming out of the marches and things like that is that the Black community is realizing that we need each other to succeed. We can't continue to fight each other. We can't continue to compete with each other. We need each other in order to win, honestly, to get out of the space that we're in, to get out of this abuse, to get out of this negativity, right? And so you do have to support each other. You're absolutely right. There's the buyblack.com. I don't know if you guys are aware of it, where it's nothing but Black stores, you know, Black businesses are all on that website. And that's, you know, they have from cleaning products to just literally everything. And it's just circulating the dollars back into the Black community so that we can start seeing, you know, changes and resources that we need. I mean, same with Black-owned banks. It's very few and far in between, but there are Black-owned banks. So we do have to find ways, and it is a big part is about the dollars. You're absolutely right. And it's also, you know, the more dollars we put into the Black communities, I think the more it'll give opportunities for Black people to get into these spaces where they can fight. They can, you know, be in those meetings where it's all white board members. We will have those quote unquote Jamals at those companies to fight and say, I don't think you should release that statement. I don't think you should have that kind of campaign. We need those people. And we have to, I think, but we also have to push each other to say, hey, go out on a limb and apply for that job. Don't be afraid because maybe you don't, you know, you think you don't meet all of their criteria and all their qualifications. You never know. I mean, I know for certain companies that I've worked at in the past, there is a specific quota that they have to have of African Americans working for them. So you may be that one, and you may now open up that door for others to come, but also change that company around and change their minds. I mean, I've been in positions where people have literally told me, I thought Black people were lazy, or I thought, you know, Black people, you know, all they did was sell drugs, and you kind of changed my mind about it. Like, my husband is an instructor, and if you guys seen him, I mean, he has tattoos all over his arms, like everything. He gets in front of like older white people all the time, and he's teaching them about project management. He's teaching them about leadership skills. And a lot of times they tell him, like, when you first came in here, I was like, what's this little Black boy gonna teach me? And by the end of it, they're like, I can't believe, you know, I looked at you that way. You need to come back. I learned so much from you. That's what we need to be doing. We need to be showing them on a daily basis that, guess what, we can compete with the best of y'all. And sometimes we are way more advanced than you, but we're not really given those opportunities, but we're also not fighting for them because, as Shantae said at the beginning of the call, we get complacent. We get in this space of, hey, we're used to it. This is normalcy. I mean, I moved thousands of miles away from what I considered was the norm, you know what I mean, where I felt protected. I moved thousands of miles away in order to kind of stand on my own and say, you know what, make a space for yourself. And do I miss the heck out of my mom? Absolutely. Don't get me wrong, but I'm happy I made that move because it challenged me to now figure out who am I as a person? How can I show my children that there is, you know, more to life than just the neighborhood that you're used to or spaces in which you've grown up in? And look at me, I'm a chief operating officer at the age, what happened at 29. You know, there's a lot of different things that we can do, but I think we just have to help each other, and we have to continue to fight for equality. We have to continue to fight for unity. And I really hope that this was the last, one of the last, because there's still been several senseless killings from officers since George Floyd that have not made mainstream media yet. But I really hope that it does not continue to happen. I don't want to end out 2020 with more and more deaths. I hope that it has opened law enforcement's eyes to say that there has to be a better way, and we can't continue to do what we've been doing, because now we also have the white community against the way we react.
Mhm.
I think I really hope that's where we're going. I hope so.
Hope this will actually make a big impact on everybody, and not just the African American race, but everyone's race. You know, let them see that we've been dealing with this for years, and you know, everyone's tired of it now. We're all standing up for it now. So we just need to keep praying that this will make a change.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I hope that this conversation was beneficial for everybody.
That's great.
As I mentioned, this isn't going to be the only one. Like I said, I'm doing a bunch of different series. I have the Black Men one that I'm doing on Tuesday night, and then of course I have